music here?
Yeah, anytime you feel like it within the next couple of minutes, that'd be great, Harold. But Harold, actually, wait just a minute. Let's also give a little space to see if people might want to share some announcements.
Okay, just tell me when.
Yeah, I'll tell you when.
Hi, David.
Hi, David.
Morning.
So
I have an announcement.
Great, thank you, Kate.
That tomorrow evening at 5 p.m., the Interfaith Council will be holding a prayer session about the political, the geo worries that we all have right now. And Sandra Boston is one of the leaders for that, and Kate Stevens. And I don't have the link right now. It will be on Zoom. So maybe before the end of the service, I'll type it in.
I think you probably have it in your email, Kate, because I got it directly from them.
Right, I can find it.
Yeah, so contact either Kate or me, and if you want to attend, and we can send you the link for tomorrow evening. It sounds like a good time to be together. I have an announcement just about next week that Reverend Steve Wilson will be doing our service Zooming in from California. So that'll be our 11:30 regular service.
And that's for Bernardston. Is anybody from First Parish ready to say what you're doing next Sunday? Let's see here. Tony's here. Tony, do you know what's up next week?
I'm here too.
Oh, Ann, good.
Next Sunday will be Reverend Melissa Carvel-Zemer's intergenerational service.
That's at First Parish Northfield on beautiful Main Street.
It is, and it will be a hybrid service, so we'll have a Zoom component and an in-person component.
And Rob or Kate, what is All Souls going to do a week from today?
Sandra can announce it. Sandra Boston.
We're going to have a chalice circle where people can share what's on their hearts about what's happening in the world or anything else that they want to hold together.
Okay.
I'd just like to announce.
Did you have an additional announcement, Sandra?
I would like to announce that there is going to be a gathering on the town common at noon today in support of Ukraine and the consciousness on this planet about the rights to liberty and justice for all.
I have a question. Will next Sunday's service at All Souls be over Zoom, or has that decision been made yet?
We haven't, the board hasn't decided yet. It's likely to be a hybrid, but that depends on Franklin County falling below 15 cases per 100,000, which it seems to be almost ready to do.
As the fighting escalates. Mr. President.
Where is the town common? Is this in Montague or Greenfield?
Greenfield, but it's also happening in Amherst, Northampton, and Shelburne Falls. It's a national gathering.
Where's the town common in Greenfield?
At the junction of Federal Street, which is Route 5 and 10, and Main Street.
Oh, okay.
I want to say it's also international by the Pink Brigade. What's the name?
Okay.
On a completely more pragmatic note, all those things extremely important. But we tend to do our portion of the program where we share our joys and concerns in the middle of the service, and some churches early and other churches at the end and others. because of a potential scheduling conflict, which Harold may have at the end, I'm going to invite him to conclude his service, but know that we haven't forgotten joys and concerns. We will definitely get to it right after the benediction.
Encourage all peaceful efforts to end the bloodshed and don't be smoking.
Okay, and I'm going to mute people, and if there are no, raise your hand if there are any other announcements, and we will listen to our musician and service provider this morning, Harold Payne. Rob, would you like to introduce Harold?
Sure. Harold is someone who I met at a positive music festival, and he could have practically been the poster man for the whole festival. One of the most genuinely joyous and upbeat human beings with a really strong core of just kindness and compassion. So before I give him too big a build-up, just enjoy a little taste of Harold's instrumental skill. This is I'm guessing, knowing Harold, in keeping with his TEDx talk, preparing for spontaneity, this will be something he'll be winging. But we'll enjoy watching him improvise.
Winging indeed.
Mute.
Beautiful, Harold. Thank you so much. So, in many of our churches, we light a chalice to symbolize the way in which we're spreading light in these services and kindling and warming each other with our presence. This could be a first because Harold shared with me an Indian chant that's all about lighting candles. It's short. I'll say it in English, and then Harold will sing it in Hindi, which I'm pretty sure is a first for our group to hear a chalice lighting sung in Hindi. And then he'll also sing it once in English. And here we go. So the words to the chalice lighting are, candle to candle, the light travels on. Together our love, like a river, flows ever strong.
ज्योति सी ज्योति जगाते चलो, ज्योति सी ज्योति जगाते चलो, प्रेम की गंगा बहाते चलो, प्रेम की गंगा बहाते चलो. Candle to candle, the light travels on. Candle to candle, the light travels on. Our love, like a river, flows ever strong. Prem ki ganga bahate chalo.
Thank you, Harold. May the light warm us in what is for many parts of the world an especially dark time. Our reading for this service is similar to last week, a poem, also quite distinct from last week in two tightly correlated ways. I didn't write it, and it's way shorter. It's a poem by Pablo Neruda, and the title of it is Keeping Quiet. Now we will count to 12, and we will all keep still. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's just stop for a second and not move our arms so much. It would be an exotic moment. Without rush, without engines, we would all be together in a sudden, strange stillness. Fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would not look at his hurt hands. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victories with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade, simply being together, doing nothing. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it is about. If we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives ever moving, and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death and extinction. So now I'll count up to 12, and we will all keep quiet. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 12. Imagine 12 months, a whole year, in which we were spared the noise of the wars and the aggressions and all the things that are so loud in human existence. I shared a tiny bit about how I met Harold. I think it's fair to say that what touches me about his work and just really who he is as a human being is that he's a really authentic person. He's genuinely joyful, but he's also deeply compassionate. And I think you'll hear in his sermon and especially in his songs a really kind of exquisite blend of candor and courage and creativity. So please help me welcome on Zoom. I don't know how people do that, but in any event, Harold, we're glad to have you with us and invite you to please take the center stage.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Very happy to be here, and I thank my good friend Rob for inviting me and for the kind words and for handling all the host chores today. The title of my talk today is Love Wins. It's about civility, but it's morphed a little bit to be also more about peace through music and travel. And I know that this is a very sophisticated audience, and some of what I'll be talking about you may have experienced already, but I hope that, especially when All Souls is the name of your church, one of the churches that are here today, and that one of the mission statements is partially to show that people can transcend differences. So I realize I'm preaching to the converted here, but hopefully the addition of travel and music and what I've learned from that will be something that will be slightly enlightening or a slight twist on something. So one thing that I know for sure is that when all else fails, music speaks. Music speaks louder than words. It's the only thing that the whole world listens to. Music speaks louder than words. When you sing, people understand. Sometimes the love you feel inside can get lost between your heart and your mind. And the words aren't really saying the thing you wanted them to. But then you hear in somebody's song what you were trying to say all along. And somehow with the magic of music, the message comes through, right on through. It's all because music speaks louder than words. It's the only thing that the whole world listens to. Music speaks louder than words. When you sing, people understand. The longer I live, the more I find that people seldom take the time to really get to know a stranger and make them a friend. Reach out, reach out. But the power of a simple song can make everybody feel they belong. Maybe singing and playing gonna bring us all together once again. Amen. And it's all because music speaks louder than words. It's the only thing that the whole world listens to. Music speaks louder than words. When you sing,
understand. When you sing, don't you know that people are gonna understand? Thank you. So one thing is that, you know, it's interesting when we sing together, our views or beliefs or any cultural differences all are left behind because we're singing in one voice all together. And when we listen, it doesn't matter where the music comes from or who it comes from. It just matters that we like it. So there's an instant connection there. And that song was actually inspired by a ride on a coconut boat in Tahiti that involved a conflict and a bribe. And so it started, my friend and I were traveling around the Pacific playing music, started off in Hawaii and ended up in Tahiti. And we were kind of traveling on the cheap. So we heard about this boat, this coconut boat that was traveling to amongst the Society Islands of French Polynesia, Huahine, Raiatea, and Bora Bora. So we thought, that's us. So we went to the place to see about getting a boarding, and only to find out that the young girls there said, I'm really sorry, but this is a locals only boat, because it was Christmas time and they were going off to their respective islands. And we said, oh, well, we talked about that we were musicians and we had this album that they really wanted. So we bribed them with this album and we're able to get on board the coconut boat to the rest of the French Polynesia. And we thought, well, we're going to go really early because we're going to be on this for a couple days and like sleeping on the deck. So we better go early. So we went and we thought, oh, this is really nice. They have mats laid out on the deck and everything. So at least it won't be quite as hard. And we positioned ourselves on a mat, and then everybody started boarding, and they started giving us dirty looks and saying things obviously about us in French and Tahitian that was probably not real positive, and then started pointing, and we realized that when we looked down that there were names on the mats and that people had come way before us and put down the mats to save their spot. So we ended up being relegated down into the bowels of the boat next to the engine, where we were going to have to sleep for 2 or 3 days. And as a last resort, we broke out our guitars and started singing. And it was like the seas parted, and everybody invited us to their mat and gave us food, and we sang together. And I had learned a few songs in Hawaii and in Hawaiian and one in Tahitian. So it also told me that a little bit of homework or a little bit of speaking a few words of the other language or doing a song in their language or just connecting through music can really make a difference. And it also made me realize that there's something that I like to call an increment of peace. That when we connect with somebody, it's like out of the 8 billion people, almost 8 billion people on the planet, it's a tiny grain of sand of incremental peace on the beach of humanity. So recently, I also, speaking of travel and music, I recently had an opportunity to sing on a song that was a theme song for an event called A Free Trip to Egypt. Is actually a documentary film. And this enlightened gentleman, a Muslim guy from Halifax in Canada, had this wild idea to see if he could take people who were not predisposed to have a positive view of Muslims to come on this trip to Egypt and stay with an Egyptian family. So he literally went around to places like Trump rallies and held up a sign that said, "Free trip to Egypt." And as you can imagine, he got some interesting responses. But in the end, commendably, some people who had some very strong feelings decided that they were willing to take this chance to go there and see what it would be like. And so they all boarded the plane and went to Egypt and ended up each staying with their own family. There was one woman, a Jewish woman, who had said that since 9/11 she had become basically a racist, in her own words. And she made a powerful connection with the family that she lived with. And in fact, her husband ended up, who unfortunately passed a few months afterwards, wanted his ashes spread in Egypt. I mean, that is a unbelievable change in spirit. And so Tarek, the gentleman who had this idea, he said, I don't expect the whole world to hold hands and sing Kumbaya, but we have to, the immediate goal was really to survive together, to respect each other enough so that we don't kill each other, which is a very incremental step, but a good first one. And I know that life is not a song, and not everyone gets a chance to travel all over the world. But much of what we can learn from travel and music, we can practice civility and kindness and just reaching out. And maybe, I know in the US, sometimes we're a little bit myopic about the rest of the world, or the rest of the world knows a lot more about us. So sometimes learning a few words in someone's language or their culture and acknowledging that in them is really helpful, and might even get you a better seat on a boat somewhere. So I also had a chance to go on a trip to India that reminds me a little bit about the free trip to Egypt. I met a guy that was walking around the world from India, and I wrote a song about him. He invited me to come on this international peace walk to India. And sometimes it's just taking one small step in the right direction, which opens a door. So we went on this peace walk from starting in Ahmedabad, India, at Gandhi Ashram, where he started his walk from salt. And we walked through the villages of India, sometimes to places where they had never seen a foreigner or even someone from another village. And it was miraculous. We had quite an assemblage. And when I arrived in India, this 24-hour plane ride with a stop along the way in Singapore, and I arrived at this hall where they had this candle lighting ceremony with people from 25 different countries lighting one candle, signifying that we were all one. So his name was Prem Kumar, he invited me up on the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, from America, Harold Payne. And I'm sitting in the back going, me? What am I going to do? I didn't even have a guitar with me. I had no idea. And most people there spoke only Hindi or Gujarati. So I'm walking up, I'm thinking, please God, what could I possibly play? And I remember the one song in Hindi that Prem had taught me, which is a song that you heard, called Jyoti Si Jyoti, Candle to Candle. And they just had this candle lighting ceremony. So it was as if from my 10,000 song Hindi repertoire, I picked the perfect song for this moment. And unbeknownst to me, they all knew the song. So I got 30 seconds into the song, and the entire audience was on their feet throwing garlands of flowers at the stage. You can remain seated, no flowers required. So I'm going to play this song that was inspired by that trip to India. I am a humble man from a village in India. I walk in the footsteps of those who've gone before. And this road I travel on will lift me up and make me strong. So when people ask me what this journey's for, if I take one step in the right direction, if I touch one heart along the way, if that one step becomes a chain reaction, then my journey has not been in vain. I know no countries, I know no governments, I just know the people I've had the joy to meet. And the only flag I know is this peace banner that I'll show when you see me walking down the street. If I take one step in the right direction, if I touch one heart along the way, if that one step becomes a chain reaction, then my journey has not been in vain. I get my inspiration from the words of the children, trying to teach myself what they already know. If I could show my fellow man what a child can understand, and the music has not been in vain. If I take one step in the right direction, if I touch one heart along the way, if that one step becomes a chain reaction, then my journey has not been in vain. Thank you very much. So sometimes it's taking one small step in the direction of someone that can really make a difference. And I'm now past 8 o'clock in California here. That's where I'm playing, so I can sing a little louder because I've got neighbors above me. So now I feel less inhibited to sing louder. So I thought about what are some concrete steps that we can take towards ratcheting down the animus between us, amongst us, and take a few steps in the positive direction. So I've actually come up with 7 steps, since 7 is a number here at UU Church, 7 steps towards civility, to tone down the rhetoric and turn up the civility. As I said, these might not be new, but it might give a slight different take on it. So number 1 would be, this is a real obvious one, but to find some common ground. And it can be as simple as family, talking about someone's family, or about places that you've been, or sports. It's almost like, if I may make a dreaded football analogy, it's almost like throwing short passes in the beginning of the game to kind of get in the flow before it goes. And it's just whatever warms up the conversation. And number 2 is, I feel like David Letterman here, but except it's a 7 instead of 10, but to stand up for something rather than against, to stand for something. What is your vision of a better solution? Something you can do and be an example for, rather than railing against someone. Number 3 would be to agree to disagree and still be friends. That's not always the easiest thing. You see people on Facebook who are just unfriending one another. And what a horrible word, unfriend. And it reminds me of there was a debate club, not a date club, a debate club in England where Benjamin Franklin met Thomas Paine, and where they would debate one another vociferously. But then they'd sit down afterwards and have a meal and drink together and drink mead and laugh and have a good time. And to me, when we have a debate about something, we don't have to end up on, not being friends anymore. I have one friend who is probably diametrically opposed to where I am philosophically, and we both agree that there's nothing we could say or do to one another that would make us not be friends. And number 4, it's rather obvious, is no name calling or shaming. It just gets you nowhere. I mean, and you imagine someone saying, "I'm more non-judgmental than you are." So a lot of it is just, keeping it positive. And the one place that we can practice civility is when we're driving, which is sometimes not an easy thing to do because traffic is crazy. It must be as crazy there for you as it is for me in Los Angeles here. But so I address that a little bit in this song called Positivity. There's a lot of situations that try to test our patience. We don't have to let them mess up our day, 'cause they're just little speed bumps on the road of life, and nothing's gonna rain on our parade. And if you want to know the secret for getting things done with minimum headache and maximum fun, some simple advice: you got to treat people nice and always have a good outcome. Just supply a little positivity. Positivity, that's all you really need. A sunny disposition keeps shining unconditionally. So you're driving on the freeway and there's not a lot of leeway on the side, up ahead or behind. Seems like everybody's late for something, racing, rushing, honking, bumping, still not making good time. So instead of giving someone a piece of your mind, stop and let them in and flash the peace sign, and hold up 2 fingers instead of just one, and they'll do the same for you, son. Just supply a little positivity. Positivity, that's all you really need. A sunny disposition keeps shining unconditionally. Oh yeah, and you find that the potential for joy is exponential. Imagine what this world could be with just a little more positivity. Positivity, that's all we really need. Here's to all the people who soar like an eagle with just a smile and a good attitude, with their wings spread wide, raising everyone in sight, lifting our collective mood. And it's amazing how one person can somehow seem to light up a room, or sing a happy song and make a flower start to bloom, or reach out to somebody who's feeling lost and all alone and say some words of comfort that makes them feel at home. Just supply a little positivity. Positivity, that's all we really need. A sunny disposition keeps shining unconditionally. Oh yeah, and you find that the potential for joy is exponential. Imagine what this world could be with just a little more positivity. Positivity, that's all we really need. Just a little more positivity, positivity. That's all we really need. That's all we really need. Thank you very much. That's what we all could use a little more of. So I've gone through the 4 steps. We've got a few more steps here. And number 5 is to listen, really listen, to try to understand why they think that way and let them feel heard and respected and not dismissed. I like to say, listen before dismissing. And Tarek, the gentleman who had the free trip to Egypt, he said that it's more important than convincing each other is to actually connect with each other. And from that connection, magic can occur that neither one knew existed. Okay, and number 6, use tactical empathy. I have a gentleman who I actually know through the National Speakers Association. His name is Chris Voss. He was the FBI lead hostage negotiator and has some harrowing tales, but he learned a lot, and he's written a book, and one of his tenets is to use what he calls tactical empathy and build trust by making the difference between you, maybe the enemy, rather than the other person you're dealing with. And he has a technique called mirroring, where you repeat back what the person said to you, even if it's something you don't agree with, but by repeating it back, it lets them know that they were heard and that they were listened to. And it can be something really helpful in establishing rapport, whether it's someone who's holding hostages in a bank, hopefully not, or someone who maybe is diametrically opposed to your point of view. And finally, number 7 is, if necessary, have a politics-free zone. This is always good for Thanksgiving, when everybody's got an Uncle Joe or somebody that is going to come in and try to take over the conversation with something that's totally different than maybe everybody in the room, or there's some sort of split. So sometimes the safest thing is to have a politic-free zone. And in the end, really, it's kindness and love that wins. And some of these things that I've learned through travel and music about just making an effort to know something about the other person, maybe learn a few words in their language. I'm kind of a language tokenist. I was a language major and studied linguistics and teaching English as a second language. And I've always found that it's amazing, especially for Americans, because we're not known to speak as many languages. A 10-year-old kid in Europe has been on a train, been 8 different countries, and spoken 3 or 4 different languages. So anyway, in the end, it's love that wins. You turn the news on, you get your blues on from all the negativity. It's hard to wrap yourself around what's going down on TV. You can stress it, second guess it, you can think about it way too hard, or you can move the conversation from your head to your heart. Sometimes it's a matter of just letting go, holding on to the one thing we know. Love wins, love wins. That's where the circle of life begins. It's the one simple lesson we're learning again and again. Love wins. We all matter. It doesn't matter if we're on one side or the other, as long as we find a way to get along with one another. We can agree to disagree, or maybe even realize that we see another point of view when we look through someone else's eyes. Sometimes it's as easy as just letting go, holding on to the one thing we know. Love wins, love wins. That's where the circle of life begins. It's the one simple lesson we're learning again and again. Love wins. That's where it all begins. Love wins. We learn it again and again. Love wins. Love wins. That's where it all begins. Love wins. We learn it again and again. Love wins. Oh, oh, oh. Love wins.
Bless you, Harold. What a beautiful ending to a really uplifting message that was just infused with your music. I hope someday we'll be able to hear from the descendant of Benjamin Franklin. But just think how lucky we are that we got to listen to the great-great-grandson of Thomas Payne, which may or may not be true, but is a good segue to asking Dan to please share the idea about our offertory and then play the link for the YouTube song that we can have a chance to hear and watch while we're all hopefully being as generous as we can with our whatever funds we can afford to contribute. Over to you, Dan.
Well, it's great I want to thank all the churches in Franklin County for joining together for this online service at what appears to be the end of the Omicron surge. And it was great to be able to come together with 36 screens open for us today. But all three churches need your support. And I'm talking here for people who aren't familiar with us. All Souls in Greenfield, Bernardston Unitarian, and First Parish Northfield, the three active Unitarian Universalist congregations of Franklin County, Massachusetts. And if the appropriate people in each congregation would put your address or method of contributing to your individual congregation, we're grateful for your support. If you can put that in the chat. While we listen to this video that was provided, this is an artist on Jimmy Kimmel's show. Let me get ready to share my screen. And
with a good first name, Joy.
Yeah, really. Stand by. Share sound.
Darker than the preacher, with a teardrop tattooed on his face and dirt in his fingers. I heard angels when he laughed away, the people do when they have known true pain. For his sins I don't know who's to blame. What choice was he given? This world that we're living. When I see you, I see love, I see America. I feel your pain, I share your blood, I see America. Say your mother knows a different time. She lets her tongue slip with a glass of wine. She says some things out loud that don't feel right, but but you always forgive her. Don't you see the world is changing now? The blood of the fallen cries out from the ground.
Thank you. I think we might have had a couple of audio difficulties, but that's always the case, that nothing is perfect when we congregate. I guess we would be the universally perfect Unitarians. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. I don't quite know how to engage everyone in our own All Souls Church covenant, but I hope the words will speak to you regardless of which church you affiliate with, because I think they really come from our hearts, and hopefully they will connect with your hearts. In this house, we covenant with one another to create a community built on a foundation of love, to work together to promote equality, justice, and peace, accepting responsibility for our individual acts, to stand on the side of love, embracing the liberation of oppressed minorities and working to end discrimination and unjust privilege, to communicate with kindness and support, and to serve with compassion and commitment, to listen respectfully and value our diversity as a source of our collective strength, to learn and grow together, generously sharing our time, our talents, and our treasures, to celebrate the joys of discovery, from the wonder of youth to the wisdom of age, and to openly share our laughter and our tears, showing reverence for the divine in all that is. As I mentioned at the beginning, but in case some people weren't here, ordinarily this might be where we would light our candles of joys and concern. But I'm going to ask you to please just be patient for a tiny bit longer, because Harold may have to duck out early because of an additional engagement. So I'd like to invite Harold to just to share a song. It's not technically a closing hymn, but boy, it sure is a meaningful and timely prayer. It's a song Harold wrote called A Call to Peace.
In the midst of chaos, I see a ray of hope, coming together of unprecedented scope, a return to oneness and compassion, with simple kindness as our first reaction. Where all rancor is released, this is a call to peace. There have been times when we've been tested, felt isolated and disconnected. but we are stronger than our fears, and the future's brighter than it appears. And we can build on our common beliefs. This is a call to peace. It's a call to peace. It's a call to love. It's a call to the greatness we're all made of. It's a call to peace. It's a call to love. You're my brother and my sister, and we all know there's a bond between us that we can't let go. I'll hear your truth and you hear mine. We'll respect each other and we will find that all bitterness can simply cease. This is a call to peace. It's a call to peace. It's a call to love. It's a call to the greatness we're all made of. It's a call to peace. It's a call to love. It's a call to the greatness we're all made of. It's a call to peace. It's a call to love.
Bless you, brother. So the benediction is a echo in many ways to a refrain from the very first song Harold sang today. So hopefully some of it will sound familiar, and hopefully Harold will be tolerant of my taking a little poetic license with his lyrics. Music speaks louder than words. It's the only language the whole world listens to. Music is the mother tongue in every land. When we sing with love, people everywhere understand. So I want to again give a heartfelt shout out to Harold for being here. If you would like to stay for our joys and concerns, we would love to have you. And if you need to go and spread joy in another place before we're done, we would welcome you to do that as well.
I'm going to stay for a few minutes. Thank you.
Great. So at this point, if there is someone who has a sort of symbolic candle of joy or concern that they would like to share, just maybe raise your hand and I'll see if I can see. I see Molly. And Dan, if you see someone I don't see, by all means, help me call on them. I see that Annette is going to be next too. So go ahead, Molly, you start us off, please.
Yes, I'd like to light a candle of concern for Ellen Blanchette from our congregation. She had a bad fall and she broke her nose and a finger bone in her left hand. So if people remember Ellen, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly, for caring so much. You are really a beacon of compassion in our community. Go ahead, Annette.
Mark and I will light a candle of joy. We stayed up until midnight to watch our granddaughter dance in the University of Oregon recital. And so we got to see it live streamed. And it's just a joy. It's on YouTube, University of Oregon dance recital. So it was wonderful. The dance is kind of near to our hearts. So we're so pleased that our granddaughter has taken it up and is quite good at it.
It's probably easy enough for someone to just go ahead and speak if they're ready. If two people start speaking at once, what a you moment that would be.
I see Russ has got his electronic hand raised.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you, Dan. I'd like to think of a candle being lit for a sadness that I'm feeling. I woke up Friday morning to find an injured bat laying on the floor in my kitchen. And I got her to a bat rehab specialist, but she was injured enough that she was not able to survive and was euthanized. And then yesterday, while I was just taking a walk on High Street, I saw this little mouse dead next to the curb. And I felt the sadness of this animal laying there. And I picked it up and just kind of like put it off to the side where it wouldn't be as likely to be seen. And I don't have answers. It's just this sadness that I feel of animal death that visited me. And I didn't enjoy it, but I did what felt like the right thing for me to do. And thank you. Thank you.
I think while Harold's still here, I'd like to go next and light a candle of joy and gratitude. My greatest pleasure in life is, I think, sharing people I love with communities I love. And it's just such a, some ways simple and in other ways really moving thing to be able to have it that someone who lives on the total opposite coast, who I could never, afford to fly to come to, Western Massachusetts, through the miracle of Zoom, can be so present and so fully with us this morning. And I also want to appreciate what a cool part of friendship it is when the person actually walks their talk. Harold didn't just talk about the things he did today. When I mentioned some of what I was hoping we could experience, he was completely open to collaborating, to refining, and even completely throwing out some of the things that he was going to do and changing them. And it ended up being a real team effort. And something about teamwork, corny as it may sound, I'm 67 going on 68, and I've never gotten tired of how wonderful it is to be on a winning team. And finally, my sweetheart Debka is in hours going to be boarding a plane, God willing, to Argentina to spend a month practicing tango. And while I will dearly miss her, I'm also really glad that she's following her star and that our relationship is secure enough that I'm not worried that some handsome Argentine is going to sweep her off her feet. We'll do his tango with her. So that's enough for me. Who else might like to share a candle of joy and concern?
I see Pamela Kelly's hand is raised.
And then Tony, I saw you next.
Pamela, you're still muted.
Both this week and last week's service have brought me to this book right here. And it's called Let's Make a Better World. And it's songs and stories by Jane Sapp, who is a musician who worked at a Highlander folk school all through the civil rights movement. And it's a perfect book. The introduction and also the music in the book is perfect for us. And I appreciate Rob helping to gather this meeting together. Meaningful for me. Thank you so much.
I think, Tony, you're
Yes.
mute.
I'd like to say a word of concern and appreciation for the passing of my sister-in-law, Patricia Marion, my brother's wife out in California, who finally succumbed to, I don't know, maybe the third cancer that she had in her life. The smile in the photograph I held up is representative of the spirit this woman had. And I always remember, I continue to remember the photograph my brother and Patricia had in their home of Patricia when she was a younger woman on roller skates with exactly that smile, probably moving through the scenery somewhere in Marin County. So I miss her, and I thinking about my brother and their family.
Thank you, Tony.
I would like us to light a candle for the people who are refugees from Ukraine, fleeing violence and destruction.
Go ahead, Harold.
I'd like to light a candle of gratitude for having me, and like Rob said, to be able to go across the miles all the way from my home here in Los Angeles and do this and have it early enough so I didn't have to cancel my other church engagement, which I'm doing in person in Seal Beach, California. So, but mainly thank you for giving me this opportunity to share a moment with you. And I felt your presence, and I thank you, Rob, so much for your bringing me in, for your friendship, and thank you all.
Thank you, Harold. It was wonderful. Good
Thank
luck with your next service.
I saw Gene hold up 2 fingers to you, Harold, instead of.
Yes, and thanks, Dan, for your help. Take care, everybody.
Okay, well, let me, I guess right now we'll say goodbye to anyone who's watching on YouTube. This will be available. Sometimes people ask me, these services are generally available almost immediately. You have to go to the channel of the Franklin County Unitarian Universalists, and then you look on videos, and there's a little thing that says live. For some reason, they hide the Zoom meetings under a little, not a pull down menu, but a menu choice called live. And you can usually find our latest services there. I will start making some breakout rooms while you can all talk amongst yourselves. Okay, create, and I'm going to let you assign manually.
Talk.
Blah, blah, blah.
I'm gonna duck out, but it was really great to have your help, Dan, and good to see so many of your faces on the Zoom screen.
Thank you, Rob. Good service.
Thanks, Rob.
All the best.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Rob.
thank you. I taught Harold all of those guitar things and songs.
Of course.
Oh, I could tell. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Be well, everybody.
I have a question for people. Okay, I've got the 3 breakout rooms for the different churches. I wonder if, well, let's just leave it at that. I'll have another room that we might use for other things, but I'll open all rooms. And depending on the device you're using, you can, you should have a menu. Sometimes you have to move your mouse or your finger down to look at breakout rooms. But if you can't get to the breakout room of your choice, just stand pat and I can assign you from my master control room. So open all rooms. They'll be open in just a second. You should be getting a message about that.
Thanks, Dan.
You're welcome. And let me remove the spotlight for the chalice and flowers. And I'll say goodbye.